The economic battleground has seen a significant shift. For years, China has been on the defensive, enduring blows like tax sanctions, steel tariffs, and the TikTok ban from the US. However, Beijing is now taking the offensive. President Xi Jinping is fortifying China's economy and challenging US dominance. His upcoming visits to France, Serbia, and Hungary are strategic moves. France, as the EU's second-largest economy, along with Germany, holds immense importance for China's European relations. The EU remains a vital market for China, constituting 40% of its EV exports. By year-end, a quarter of all car sales in Europe will be Chinese-made, a staggering figure. Delving into the figures reveals why Europe is crucial for Chinese companies. The profit margins are astounding. For instance, a sealed car from BYD yields 11 times more profit when sold in Europe compared to China, $115,000 versus $1,400. Even with EU tariffs of 30% or 40% on Chinese EV imports, exporting to Europe remains highly lucrative for Chinese EV makers. This stems from China's vertical integration in manufacturing, where all components of the supply chain can be sourced from a single country. With skilled labor, affordable energy, and ample raw materials, China offers a comprehensive package. However, it's not a unilateral relationship. Xi Jinping's EU visit underscores this. Many EU automakers, like Volkswagen, BMW, Renault, and Mercedes, operate factories and production facilities in China through joint ventures. This enables them to manufacture cost-effective vehicles in Beijing and distribute them back into the EU market. Approximately 5% of EVs sold in Europe come from these joint ventures, and a total of 19% of EVs in Europe originate from Chinese factories. Both local Chinese automakers and Western companies benefit. Even Tesla manufactures cars in China. President Xi aims to deepen this interdependence with Europe, fostering stronger economic bonds. Chinese manufacturing isn't merely a threat. Europe can leverage it to enhance their own exports' competitiveness. One particularly intriguing aspect of Xi's trip is his visit to Serbia, coinciding with the 25th anniversary of NATO's bombing of China's embassy in Belgrade. This holds profound symbolic significance, serving as a reminder that China hasn't forgotten the US's actions. It also conveys a message to Europe about the importance of autonomy and independent thinking. Serbia, one of the few European countries maintaining strong ties with China, hasn't imposed sanctions on Russia either. Collaboration between Europe and China presents numerous advantages. Many EU leaders are making their way to China for a crucial reason. Olaf Scholz recently visited Beijing, and Italy's Meloni is set to follow suit. The driving force behind these visits is access to China's burgeoning consumer market. According to the Brookings Institute, by 2027, a staggering 1.2 billion Chinese individuals will have ascended to the middle class, constituting 1/4 of the world's total middle-class population, all within one nation, a population 4 times that of the United States. This immense market is one that Europe simply cannot afford to overlook. Relying solely on the US market isn't viable, given the limited customer base. Take, for instance, Germany's automotive giants, Mercedes, Volkswagen, and BMW, who sell at least a third of their vehicles to China, whereas exports to North America barely surpass 15%. Should China be removed from the equation, many EU companies could face dire consequences: plummeting revenues, vanishing profits, and widespread job losses. Moreover, the specter of a trade war looms large, with the potential for China to impose tariffs on EU products, further compounding the devastation. The perennial issue of the EU's trade deficit with China frequently arises, underscoring Europe's lower exports compared to imports. The data speaks for itself. China's exports to Europe outweigh imports, resulting in a trade deficit. However, this narrative is only part of the story. Europe relies heavily on Chinese imports of raw materials, including electronics, chemicals, and machinery. With China exporting deflation globally, the EU benefits from reduced manufacturing costs, enhancing its products' competitiveness on the international stage. In essence, severing ties with Chinese imports would inflate input costs for Europe, rendering its products less competitive in the global market. When examining the EU's trade balance with the world, a positive trend emerges. Europe is once again reaping the benefits of global trade. After a 2-year downturn spurred by elevated energy prices, Europe is regaining competitiveness. thanks to the declining cost of gas and affordable inputs from China. This resurgence bodes well for EU companies and facilitates job growth. So, where does Europe derive its wealth? The answer lies in a revealing chart. The EU's largest trade surplus originates from the UK and the US, depicted by the green and orange bars respectively. Europe's exports to the Western world are generating revenue. Despite the current trade deficit with China, it's crucial to understand that many imports from China comprise raw materials essential for EU production. China's provision of cost-effective inputs fuels Europe's manufacturing sector, enabling it to produce goods destined for the US market. This underscores a symbiotic relationship between China and the EU, where both parties benefit from trade. It's imperative to zoom out and adopt a holistic perspective. Things are not always as they appear. The relocation of EU companies to China and Europe's continued importation of Chinese goods are not mere coincidences. They are deliberate strategies designed to optimize economic outcomes. For nearly a year we have been hearing, China's economy is on the brink, that the collapse is coming. But the recent data is showing quite the opposite. China factory activity holds up, signaling recovery has legs. The PMI numbers are out, and it shows an expansion in factory activity. Despite the global slowdown, China's industries are still growing. The official and private numbers are showing positive growth for China's economy. Beijing's pivot to the industrial production to save the economy is really working. It's quite likely they will meet their 5% GDP target for 2024. And this is a good sign of economic growth. This helps to unlock a virtual cycle for the domestic economy. When factories are producing, local Chinese people have jobs. This allows domestic consumers to slowly recover. Trying to revive domestic demand isn't something very easy. The property collapse has done a number on local consumption, and it's going to take a while for locals in China to start buying more stuff, especially if they import it in from Europe. Domestic consumers are still strong. Consumption drives a staggering 82% of China's overall GDP growth, making it an immense market opportunity. However, the key factor here is price. To capture more Chinese market share, Europe's most straightforward route is establishing factories within China. Chinese consumers prioritize both cost and quality, necessitating a balance of both. Leveraging a superior supply chain to produce more affordable products and directly cater to consumers is a winning strategy, as exemplified by Tesla and Volkswagen. Currently, China grapples with rebuilding consumer confidence, particularly amidst the property crisis. Home sales in April saw a significant slump, down by 45% compared to the previous year, a troubling trend that impacts consumer spending habits. Reversing this trend poses a formidable challenge, requiring considerable time and effort to make China more appealing to the global market, notably Europe. Beijing's focus is now on stabilizing the property market. The People's Bank of China has advocated for expedited issuance of sovereign and government bonds to fund infrastructure projects, crucial in this planned economy. Notably, the controlled nature of the real estate downturn implies that recovery efforts are orchestrated by the state. Should Beijing proceed with targeted stimulus measures, a rebound in the property sector is anticipated, thereby gradually revitalizing domestic consumption. Even before President Xi's visit to Paris, the French are keenly aware of the vast potential within the Chinese market. Airbus, for instance, is actively pursuing a significant deal with Beijing, rumored to involve hundreds of planes. According to Airbus, China's air traffic is projected to grow by 5.3% annually over the next 2 decades, 50% higher than the global average of 3.6%. With air travel witnessing a surge, it's only natural for Chinese carriers to expand their fleets. Given the current state of Boeing aircraft and escalating US-China tensions, France stands a strong chance of securing the deal. Hungary, within the EU, emerges as a notable player with its friendly stance towards both Russia and China. Being a participant in the Belt and Road project, Hungary engages in substantial trade beyond European borders. China ranks as Hungary's largest trading partner, with bilateral trade reaching $14.5 billion last year. Despite a trade deficit, Hungary benefits from robust relations, as evidenced by significant investments from Chinese companies. A masterstroke for Hungary lies in its ambition to become a hub for battery production, with China's involvement propelling them forward. Collaborating with China's Amperex technology, CATL, Hungary aims to surpass larger competitors like Germany in EV battery production. KATL's $7.6 billion investment in partnership with Mercedes-Benz promises to create over 9,000 jobs, marking the largest foreign direct investment in Hungary to date. Furthermore, rumors abound of another groundbreaking partnership between Hungary and China. Great Wall Motors, a Chinese automaker, may establish its first European car factory in Hungary. This potential venture positions Hungary as a focal point for affordable EV manufacturing, with batteries and cars produced domestically. Leveraging Hungary's strategic location, exports to both the EU and China become feasible, all while benefiting from access to inexpensive Russian gas, ensuring low energy costs compared to Western Europe. This confluence of factors signifies a transformative moment for Hungary, blending Chinese investment and expertise with Hungary's EU position, shaping it into a hub for cutting-edge, low-cost EV manufacturing. This marks Beijing's strategic charm offensive, a concerted effort to sway Europe away from the US. Despite ongoing tensions, China remains a crucial trading partner for the EU, ranking as its third-largest export destination in 2023, with goods worth over 220 billion euros sold to Beijing. Trade ties with Europe hold significant importance for China, particularly amidst US sanctions. Treasury Secretary Yellen's recent trip to Beijing underscored this delicate dynamic, with a veiled threat of sanctions on Chinese banks engaged in trade with Russia. To counter such pressures, China seeks to bolster global trade partnerships, including with Europe, as a buffer against potential US sanctions. Should the US choose to sanction China, it would necessitate disrupting global trade networks, forcing countries to rethink their reliance on the dollar for purchasing Chinese goods. Such a scenario would have adverse implications for the dollar and the US economy at large. China's expanding trade relationships worldwide serve as a deterrent against US sanctions, rendering it less vulnerable to punitive measures. Hence, cultivating strong ties with the EU becomes imperative for Beijing. For Europe, aligning with China presents a complex dilemma. It could serve as a lifeline for their economy, enabling them to maintain competitiveness amid shifting geopolitical dynamics. However, it also entails navigating intricate diplomatic waters, considering the long-standing alliance with the US. The choice between embracing China or aligning with the US remains a pivotal decision for Europe, one that will shape their economic trajectory in the years to come. What are your thoughts on this? Do you believe Europe will lean towards embracing China to safeguard its economy, or will it continue to align with the US? Share your views in the comments below. Stay safe, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us as we navigate through these tumultuous times.